What happens when the man who built a boat rental empire from scratch realizes he's lost touch with what's happening at the docks? Quentin Harlow stood in the back office of his headquarters, staring at a row of spreadsheets that didn't tell him what he needed to know. 13 locations, record summer bookings. Yet complaints had started to trickle in, not about prices or boats, but about service. Boats not ready on time. Staff seemed overwhelmed. No one around to help. His assistant had tried to explain it away, new hires still learning, a few employees on vacation, normal summer chaos. But Quentin had a rule. If he started getting the same kind of complaint more than 3 times, he didn't ask for reports. He went there himself. He picked Store 7, the lakeside location, about 2 hours out, usually one of the most popular. He hadn't been there since its opening 4 years ago. None of the staff had met him in person. Most thought the chain was owned by some faceless investment group. That anonymity was a gift. He shaved his beard, dyed his hair darker, traded his usual button-up for faded cargo shorts and a sun-bleached t-shirt. His name for the week: Rick. A new trainee, transferred from a closed location. He even made sure to have someone at HQ call ahead pretending to be a district rep, warning the manager that a lazy trainee was being sent over. "Don't expect much," the fake call said. "Just keep him out of the way." When Quentin arrived at the rental dock that Monday morning, the heat was already rising off the lake. The gravel lot had a dozen cars parked, and a family was arguing with a sleepy teenager at the front counter about a reservation. Inside, the manager, a stocky man named Todd, wore sunglasses indoors and barely looked up from his phone. "You the new guy?" Todd asked. "Yeah, Rick," Quentin said. "Whatever. Go find Cody. He'll show you how to mop or something." Todd waved him off and turned back to his screen. Cody turned out to be a sunburned 20-year-old with oil-streaked hands, crouched near the docks replacing a busted fuel line on a pontoon boat. "You Cody?" Quentin asked. Cody stood up slowly. "Yeah, you the new trainee?" "Rick." Cody wiped his hands and nodded. "All right, grab those rags. I gotta finish this before the 11 o'clock reservation." Quentin followed him silently, watching as Cody moved with quiet urgency, checking bolts, tightening hoses, wiping down seats. He didn't rush, but he didn't stop moving either. "How many people work maintenance here?" Quentin asked. Cody didn't look up. "Just me." Quentin blinked. "Just you for all these boats?" "Yup, used to be 2 of us, but the other guy quit 3 weeks ago. They said they'd send someone else. Never did." Quentin looked around. There were at least 15 boats docked. Some looked brand new. Others were clearly older and needed work. "You get any help from Todd?" Quentin asked. Cody snorted. "Todd doesn't come out of the office unless someone's yelling. He says maintenance isn't his job." A loud splash interrupted them. A group of teenagers had just taken out a jet ski without life jackets. No one at the dock had stopped them. "Should someone have checked that?" Quentin asked. Cody sighed. "Yeah, they're supposed to check in with Todd. But he never leaves the AC." Quentin helped Cody haul a heavy battery from the shed. Inside, the small room was packed with supplies, but everything looked disorganized: cables tossed in bins, tools scattered. "You ever get a lunch break?" Quentin asked as they wiped down the next boat. Cody laughed. "Lunch? I eat crackers in the shed when I get a minute." By noon, Quentin's shirt was soaked with sweat. 2 boats had engine issues. One family showed up furious because their boat hadn't been cleaned. Cody apologized and scrambled to fix it, while Todd stood at the counter, still on his phone. Quentin saw enough. He watched a customer trip over a loose dock plank and Cody rush over with a first aid kit while Todd yelled from inside, "Tell them to sign a waiver." That night, Quentin lay in his motel bed staring at the ceiling fan. His back ached. His hands were sore. But mostly, he felt something worse: guilt. He built this company from scratch, cleaning boats himself in the early days. Now, a kid barely out of high school was doing it all alone while a manager sat in air conditioning clicking through TikTok. Quentin knew what he had to do. But first, he had to see what happened when things got busy. Real busy, By Thursday, the lakefront was a hive of chaos. 4th of July weekend loomed, and with it came a flood of early vacationers. The gravel lot was packed by 8:30. Families unloaded coolers, kids darted between cars, and impatient couples leaned on the counter, frustrated by delays. Quentin, still Rick, started the morning scraping algae off the hull of a neglected catamaran. The scrub brush had lost half its bristles, and the cleaning solution was watered down. Cody was already soaked with sweat, elbow deep in an engine compartment, trying to diagnose a stuttering ignition. The kid hadn't even had coffee. Inside the office, Todd barked at a college-aged employee, a girl named Elise who had just returned from checking the life jacket's inventory. "You filed the inspection log under J again. It goes under I for inspection. How many times do I have to say it?" Elise bristled. "I was just following what Michelle did last week." "That's what she told me. Michelle's not here, is she?" "I am, so do it right." Todd didn't look up, just waved her away with a hand. Quentin caught Elise's eyes. She looked away quickly and stepped outside, pulling her sleeves down over her arms even though the temperature was pushing 90. He followed her out under the awning. "You all right?" he asked, keeping his tone low. She hesitated, then nodded, though her jaw was tight. "Just tired," she said. "You working full-time?" 42 hours this week. But they moved me off dock duty to cover the front since Todd said we don't need 2 floaters. She mimicked the air quotes bitterly. "Now I'm stuck dealing with angry customers while he plays games on his phone." A whistle cut through the air. Cody stood waving from the dock, holding a blackened spark plug. Quentin trotted over. "Third one this week," Cody said. "They're putting low-grade fuel in again." "I told Todd, but he said fuel is fuel. These older engines can't take that crap." Quentin studied the part. "You think it could damage the engine long-term? It already has." Cody tossed it into a bucket of discarded plugs. "That pontoon's gonna throw a rod before August." A sharp voice interrupted them. "Hey, this thing's filthy." A man in board shorts and wraparound sunglasses stood on the dock, pointing at the deck of his just-assigned boat. "We paid for a premium rental and the seats are sticky." Quentin stepped forward. "Apologies, sir. We'll take care of it right away." The man narrowed his eyes. "Are you the manager?" "No, just crew." "Then get me someone who is." Todd strolled up 5 minutes later, sunglasses still glued to his face, sipping from a fast food cup. "What's the issue?" The customer launched into a tirade. Todd didn't interrupt, didn't nod, just waited until the man finished. "I'll comp you 10%, he said flatly, "if you stop yelling." 10, the man exploded. "This is a $400 rental," Todd shrugged. "Take it or leave it." "We've got other people waiting." The man stormed off, dragging his wife and kids behind him. The kids looked embarrassed. Quentin turned to Todd. "You want me to clean the boat? Might help the next customer." Todd waved him off. "Nah, they'll live." By mid-afternoon, Quentin had helped Cody swap out a battery, clean 2 boats, and deliver drinks to a stalled party barge. Todd was nowhere to be seen. Elise approached him quietly. "Rick," she said, glancing over her shoulder. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Is it normal for a manager to deduct hours off someone's paycheck if they take too long on break?" Quentin frowned. "What do you mean?" "I clocked out for lunch yesterday 22 minutes. Today I got a timesheet showing only 6.5 hours. I asked Todd and he said next time don't wander off for half an hour." "Did you talk to HQ?" She shook her head. "I don't want to get fired. I need this job." Quentin's chest tightened. He remembered being her age, living off tips and paycheck scraps. He also remembered the first time someone in management tried to shave his hours. He'd walked, but not everyone could. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills and the last boat of the day limped into dock with a sputtering engine, Quentin caught Todd on the back porch smoking a vape pen. "You got a second?" Quentin asked. Todd looked him up and down. "Rick, right? You're still here?" "Yeah, just wondering if you want me to stick to dock work tomorrow or help front desk since it's probably gonna be slammed." Todd exhaled slowly. "You're not gonna last much longer." Don't overthink it. I just want to help. Todd tilted his head. You know what helps, not asking questions. You're not here to fix things. You're here to mop floors and keep Cody from quitting. That's it. Quentin nodded slowly. Got it. The next morning, Quentin arrived an hour before opening. Cody was already there, crouched beside a trailer hitch, trying to rig a backup battery to a jet ski. You slept here? Quentin asked. Didn't have a ride home. Bus stopped running after 10. I figured I'd just crash in the shed. Quentin stared at him. You're not staying here again, he said quietly. Not another night. A loud bang interrupted them. Elise had dropped a metal clipboard. Her face was pale. Todd just told me I'm not getting Saturday off, she said, voice shaking. I requested it 2 months ago. My sister's getting married. Cody stood up. He did the same thing to Brandon last month, said approved time off doesn't mean guaranteed. Quentin clenched his jaw. Okay, he said, voice calm. I've seen enough. He walked straight into the office. Todd was eating from a paper bag, feet kicked up on the desk. Hey, Rick, we got a spill on Dock 3. Grab a mop. Quentin stepped forward and shut the door behind him. I'm not Rick, Todd blinked. What? My name is Quentin Harlow. I own this company. Todd's mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. I've been watching how you run this location. The lack of oversight, the cut corners, the way you treat staff, it's over. Todd stood slowly. Hold on, no, you've docked hours illegally, ignored safety protocols. Denied approved leave. I have statements from 3 employees and I've seen it all myself. Todd's face flushed. This is a misunderstanding. You're done here. Effective immediately. I want to speak to corporate. You're looking at it. Quentin walked out onto the dock. Cody and Elise looked up as he stepped into the sunlight. Team meeting, he said. They gathered by the shed, joined by a few dock hands who had just arrived. I'm Quentin. I started this company 15 years ago with 1 pontoon boat and a folding chair. In the last few days, I've seen things that don't reflect the company I built. He looked around. You've all been holding this place together under pressure you never should have had to carry. That ends now. Elise blinked rapidly, clearly trying to process. Effective today, Todd's been terminated. I've already called interim management. They'll be here by the afternoon. In the meantime, I'll be staying on site. Quentin turned to Cody. You're getting a full maintenance crew by next week. Starting today, you're promoted to lead tech. Double your current rate, you'll help me choose the new hires. Cody opened his mouth, then closed it again. Elise, Quentin continued, your Saturday off is reinstated, and I'm personally reviewing your last 3 pay cycles. If there was any theft, it'll be corrected with bonus. She nodded, stunned. There's a lot to fix, but I'm not leaving until it's done. The crew was silent for a moment, then Cody nodded. All right, boss, let's get to work. By Sunday morning, the air was thick with heat and tension. Quentin leaned against the doorframe of the back office, watching the parking lot fill up again. The interim manager, a lean, soft-spoken woman named Dana, was due later that day. But for now, he was still juggling the workload with a skeleton crew. Cody had arrived early again, not because he had to, but because he wanted to make sure the generator for the pontoon chargers was running. Quentin joined him without saying a word, grabbing the socket wrench from the open toolbox. You get any real sleep? Quentin asked while tightening a bolt. 4 hours. Better than usual, Cody replied, voice even. Honestly, I don't mind the work. Just nice knowing someone's got our back now. Quentin gave a small nod, but his mind was elsewhere. He had reviewed the last month's incident logs overnight. Several entries were missing entirely. Of the ones that were there, half had been signed off with just a check mark, no notes, no details. That told him everything he needed to know about how Todd had been managing risk. He hadn't. An older couple approached the dock, looking uncertain. Quentin recognized the woman's name from a complaint form filed the week before her reservation had been canceled without notice, and she'd driven 2 hours for nothing. He walked over, clipboard in hand. Good morning. You must be the Goldsteins. The woman nodded cautiously. I want to personally apologize for what happened last week. I've got your boat prepped, fully stocked and cleaned. Complimentary upgrade, no charge today, her husband blinked. You serious? Quentin nodded. Every bit of it. As they walked toward the dock, Elise emerged from the office with a stack of signed waivers, her bun coming undone in the humidity. Quentin waved her over once the couple had departed. What's the status on the Saturday shift coverage? He asked. I've got 2 part-timers from another site coming in next week. Dana set it up, she said. They'll rotate weekends. I'll train them on the front desk system. He was about to respond when a loud scraping sound echoed from the end of the dock. Cody was crouched beside the small aluminum fishing boat, jaw tight. Quentin walked over. What happened? The prop shafts bent. Someone must have hit a submerged rock yesterday and didn't report it. They took off before I could check the hull. Can it be fixed? Not today, Cody said. I'll have to pull it off the waterline and replace the shaft. Might be usable by Tuesday. That's the 3rd damaged return this week. 4th, if you count the cracked ladder on the speedboat. Quentin exhaled through his nose. That kind of wear and tear didn't happen overnight. It was clear no one had been inspecting returns properly for weeks. A group of teenagers walked past them, laughing too loudly, one of them holding a speaker blasting music. Quentin watched as they stepped into a boat without life jackets. Hold on, he said, walking toward them. Have you been checked in? We gave our name to the girl inside, one of them said. Where are your jackets? In the bin, another shrugged. We don't need 'em. You do, Quentin said. Every passenger gets one, no exceptions, it's state law. They groaned but complied. As they motored off, Cody leaned in. Those guys have been here before. Todd used to let them do whatever, said they were regulars. Quentin didn't answer. He didn't need to. Inside, the office was tense. Elise was balancing 2 phone lines while sorting wristbands. When she hung up, she turned to Quentin. I've got a customer saying they were charged twice last month, wants a manager to call them back. Forward the info to Dana when she gets in. Until then, just let them know we're reviewing billing practices and we'll make it right. She hesitated. Should I mention the audit? No, not unless they ask. She nodded and got back to work. By noon, Quentin was back on the dock, helping tie up a return jet ski. The rider, a man in his 40s with mirrored sunglasses and a sunburned nose, stepped off and tossed the key fob at Cody without a word. Hey, Cody started, but the man was already walking off. Quentin caught up with him at the gate. Sir, he said evenly. We ask that keys be returned directly to the desk, not tossed at staff. The man turned slowly. You serious? I am. The man rolled his eyes. Whatever, this place went soft. He walked off without another word. Cody approached, looking irritated. Some people think they own the lake, he said. Quentin glanced at the jet ski. A long scratch ran down the side. That wasn't there this morning, Cody added. Quentin took a photo and logged it. Back inside, they found Dana sitting at the front desk, already reviewing files. She looked up. Quentin, we need to talk. They stepped into the storage closet to avoid customer traffic. I've gone through the last 2 months of scheduling and payroll, Dana said. Todd was altering shift records. Several employees were clocking in and out, but only partial hours were getting logged. There's no paper trail. He was doing it manually through the system override. Can we verify amounts owed? Yes. I've started compiling back pay amounts. Elise is owed at least 20 hours. Cody's missing closer to 30, Quentin nodded. Prioritize corrections. Whatever they're due, I want it paid out with a thank you bonus. Dana paused. That's not all. There's a pattern in the scheduling. The part-timers who weren't white almost never got weekend shifts. One, a girl named Alana, was given a single Saturday all month despite being the most experienced on the roster. Quentin's jaw tightened. She's not here anymore. She quit last week. No exit interview. Find her. I want to offer her a position again with a written apology and full back pay for any hours she was pushed out of. Dana nodded. Already working on it. They stepped back outside. Quentin scanned the dock. Elise was helping an older man into a boat, patiently adjusting his life jacket straps. Cody was wiping down a bench, moving slowly now, his limp from an old soccer injury starting to show after a long shift. Quentin turned to Dana. "How's the hiring push going? We've got interviews lined up for Tuesday." "I've got resumes from 2 Marine techs and a retired Coast Guard officer looking for part-time dock work." "Good, we need people who understand safety," she nodded. "We'll get there." That evening, Quentin walked with Cody down the dock as the sun dropped behind the hills, casting long shadows over the water. "You ever think about getting certified?" Quentin asked. "Certified in what?" "Marine mechanics. You've already got the instinct. With some formal training, you could run maintenance for the whole region." Cody scratched the back of his head. I never thought I'd be doing this more than a summer or two." Quentin stopped and looked at him. "You're good at it, and you care. That combination is rare. If you're open to it, I'll cover the cost of your program. You finish, we'll promote you and raise your pay again." Cody didn't speak right away. "Why me?" "Because you didn't wait for someone to fix things. You kept the place running when no one else did." Cody looked out at the water. "Then yeah, I'll do it." Quentin nodded once. "It's yours." They stood in silence a while longer, the lake calm around them. For the first time all week, the place felt like it was starting to find its rhythm again, not because of policies or systems, but because the right people were finally being trusted to lead. The following week brought a sharp shift in atmosphere at the lakeside location. The temporary hiring push had brought in 2 new support staff. Marcus, a former Marine technician with a calm, methodical presence, and Joel, a retired Coast Guard petty officer whose quiet authority made her an instant asset on the dock. Dana had made it clear from day one they weren't filling in, they were building forward. But the turnaround wasn't instant. The gaps left by Todd's mismanagement were wide. Equipment was still catching up on overdue repairs, and customer expectations, shaped by weeks of substandard service, weren't easy to reset. On Tuesday, a customer arrived with a dog and 2 toddlers, only to find their boat hadn't been fueled. Joel, without a word of blame, handed the woman bottled water for the kids and handled the fueling herself. Quentin, who had been walking the docks with a clipboard, watched silently, noting how quickly small problems diffused when someone simply took ownership. Inside, Elise was training one of the new hires on the reservation system. She hadn't asked for a promotion, but Dana had shifted her title to front desk lead and bumped her hourly rate. Quentin noticed the change not just in how she carried herself, but in how others deferred to her. She wasn't asking permission to fix things anymore. She was doing it. Cody, meanwhile, had started setting up a small maintenance log station by the supply shed. It wasn't fancy, just a whiteboard and a clipboard, but it was organized. Each boat now had its own checklist. Marcus had helped him develop a simple system for tracking wear, and together they'd flagged 3 vessels for dock-only use until parts arrived. Quentin stood beside them as they reviewed the latest list. "You 2 work well together," he said. Cody nodded. "Marcus knows engines cold. I'm learning more from him every day than I did in months before." Marcus didn't look up from the checklist. "Kid's got good instincts, just needed someone to back him." Quentin turned to Cody. "You still in for that certification program?" Cody glanced at the whiteboard. "Already signed up." "Starts next month." Quentin smiled briefly. "Good, that'll open doors beyond this dock." That afternoon, Dana flagged Quentin down near the paddleboard racks. She held a printed report in one hand and a manila folder in the other. "Payroll corrections are finalized." "Back pay has been processed with bonuses," he nodded. "Any issues?" "None. But there's something else. Remember Alana, the dockhand who quit?" Dana opened the folder. "She got our message, called me yesterday, said she'd been working at a marina across the lake. Told me she never thought she'd hear from us again. She coming back. She starts Friday. Said she's willing to give it another shot, but only if she's treated like she matters this time. She will be." As they spoke, a rusted delivery van pulled up near the back lot. The driver stepped out and walked toward them holding a clipboard. "Delivery for Store 7. Parts shipment." Cody emerged from the shed, wiping his hands. That's the order I put in with Marcus. Bilge pumps, carburetors, new spark plugs. The driver nodded. Need someone to sign. As Cody signed off, Dana lowered her voice. Cody's been here every morning before open, but he's not pushing himself the way he was before. He's pacing things now. He needs to, Quentin said. That's the difference between surviving and leading. The next morning, Quentin called a staff meeting under the awning near the dock. The entire team gathered: dock hands, desk staff, Joel, Marcus, even the newest hires who'd barely finished orientation. Quentin stood at the center, holding a folded sheet of paper. I want to acknowledge something, he began. This site went through weeks of dysfunction, and yet you all showed up. You kept customers safe. You patched broken equipment. You covered for each other when leadership didn't. No one said a word, but a few employees exchanged glances. I also want to be honest. That failure came from the top, not just from a bad manager, but from me. I let this place drift. I trusted reports instead of people. He paused, letting the silence settle. That won't happen again. He unfolded the paper. Starting this month, all employees here will be part of a monthly feedback loop. That means direct input to Dana and myself. Anonymous, if you prefer. You'll help guide hiring, equipment upgrades, even scheduling. You live with the consequences of our decisions. You deserve a voice in them. A few heads nodded. Elise crossed her arms, listening carefully. Second, I'm launching a cross-location development track. If you want to move up, we'll show you the path, whether that's certification, leadership training, or regional roles. Cody glanced sideways at Marcus, who gave him a small nod. And finally, Quentin added, this dock is now the pilot site for our new safety initiative. Joel will lead it. Every team member will be trained on emergency response, equipment checks, and incident logging, not just because it's the law, but because it protects each other. Joel stepped forward slightly. We start this weekend, no exceptions. Quentin folded the paper again. This location is no longer surviving, it's rebuilding. You earned that. After the meeting, as the sun climbed higher and customers began arriving, the team broke off in quiet clusters to prepare. Elise briefed a new staffer on the check-in process. Marcus double-checked a refueling hose. Cody was already digging into the hull of a speedboat flagged for vibration. Quentin walked the perimeter slowly. The gravel crunched beneath his shoes, the same lot he'd pulled into just 10 days earlier, pretending to be a burned-out trainee. He passed by the shed and paused. Inside, the once chaotic shelves were neatly sorted. Tools were labeled. The rags were stacked. A small fan buzzed in the corner, aimed toward a folding chair. He stepped in just long enough to tape a laminated sign to the inside of the door. Crew break area. You've earned it. As he returned to the dock, Dana met him halfway. Spoke to HQ this morning, she said. They want to know if we're ready to expand this model to 2 more sites. Quentin looked out at the water. A family was boarding a pontoon, assisted by Joel. Elise was laughing with a kid holding a fishing pole. Cody leaned over to adjust an engine cover already coated in sweat. Not yet, he said. Let's get this one right first, then we'll talk. Dana didn't argue. That afternoon, just before closing, a man in a crisp polo approached the desk with a clipboard. He introduced himself as an insurance inspector routine audit scheduled months ago. Elise paged Quentin, who met the man outside. They walked the grounds together. The inspector checked life jacket counts, reviewed the maintenance log, and asked questions. Quentin answered each one clearly. When they reached the dock, the man paused. Staff seems engaged, he said. Not always the case at seasonal operations. They've earned that engagement, Quentin replied. We just stopped standing in their way. The man nodded and made a final note on the clipboard. As he left, the inspector turned back. Whatever you're doing here, keep doing it. It's working. Quentin didn't respond right away. He stood on the dock, watching the last boat glide in under the golden light. He thought of Elise's quiet determination, Cody's grit, Alana's return, Dana's steadiness. And he thought of Todd, how easily one person can unravel a system when no one's watching. and how quickly the right people, trusted and empowered, can rebuild it. No grand speeches, no dramatic transformations, just accountability, action, and staying close enough to the ground to feel the gravel under your own shoes. He turned and walked back toward the office. There was still work to do, but for the first time in far too long, he didn't feel the weight of it alone.